Welcome to the third day of Formnext 2022, and welcome in our live stream, and welcome here at AM4U stage in Hall 11. Yesterday, the second day of Formnext, was very full-packed with information, with lectures, and with a lot of conversations here at the stage and down there in the halls. With a lasting impression on this year's partner country, France, we had a lot of guys here presenting their products and their solutions for the community. Very, very impressive. Today we will have another focus. We will focus on sustainability, and I'm very happy to have the right people here with me in the morning talk. So I'm very happy that you here with me, Sherri Monroe. She's Executive Director, Additive Manufacturing Green Trade Association, AMGTA, right?
Right, that's a mouthful.
Perfect. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Dr. Martin White, he's Head of Additive Manufacturing Programs Europe at ASTM, Additive Manufacturing Center of Excellence.
Good morning.
Good to have you here.
Thank you, good to be here.
And Thomas Lück. Thomas Lück is Head of Sales and Innovation of Cirp GmbH. And maybe the one or the other knows him better as the head and the organizer of Purmundus Challenge, a very long-lasting challenge. We come back to that later. Good to have you here, Thomas.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sherri, your topic is sustainability. That's
right.
That's what drives you. What contribution can AM make to a more sustainable industry?
Well, I think the opportunities are throughout what businesses are doing. You know, when we talk about sustainability, we're not talking about something sort of off to the side that companies do if they have some extra time and some extra resources. From our perspective, what sustainability should look like is less energy consumption, less waste, less source material, shorter lead times, less inventory sitting on shelves, really those same strategic drivers every business is looking at anyway. And whether sustainability is the objective or if it's the fortunate unintended consequence of just running a better business, those are still sustainability wins.
Yesterday or the day before, we had here some guys from VDMA, and they had a survey, and the result was that people are, you know, dealing at their companies with one main topic. Do you know what it was? Cost.
Right.
So, and now we're driving, when we're talking about sustainability, I think we have to talk about cost, or
absolutely.
What does sustainability cost, or
right.
Do you have a better argumentation, you know?
Right. I think if you look at it as a cost for your business, it's a little like taking your medicine. You know, that it's not very palatable. People don't, it's hard to get motivated around that. But when you look at those same strategic drivers, how do you reduce costs? Well, you reduce costs by reducing your energy consumption, by reducing the materials you're purchasing. Those are cost drivers, but they're also sustainability drivers. And where you find that those overlap, that's where you're going to get people on board.
So you're stating it's not you know, contrary, but it can go hand in hand?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And do you have in your association? Do you have examples, or can you underline it with surveys or with facts and figures? Because it's always, you know, it sounds good, but can you prove it, or do you have examples from your member companies?
Absolutely. Well, we have research that we're doing, life cycle analysis that will be coming out. Actually, 4 of them that will be coming out in the next year. 2 towards the end of this year and 2 in the middle of next year. But you know, you don't have to. If you can tell somebody you can reduce your energy consumption, you can reduce the materials you have to throw in the waste bin. Those are easy to quantify for any business. So I think if they're looking at that through those lenses, you know, that's the first place to go. There may be some other things that they may do at some point that have costs associated with them, but there's so much they can do first.
Mm-hmm. Martin, what is your impression on the discussion about cost and sustainability?
So I agree with the comment. I think they're hand in hand. So I think sustainability is something that we have to address globally, industry-wise. I'm seeing a big change, actually, just walking around the floor in Formnext, as the discussions we're having with suppliers, bureaus, end users, is that in terms of how much does a part cost, there's now part of the quote process is this is how much energy you'll use with your parts. So there's a drive now to increase number of parts in your build, for example, to try and reduce energy costs. Because back to that main reason is how do we build a sustainable business and reduce costs? So I have seen that already. I think it is a change, and I think the industry is very excited to take this on. And it's the same with our factories. So in the UK, a lot of the additive manufacturing facilities are often in old tool shops, which have become obsolete. So there's big space on site, so they put their additive manufacturing in. And they're realizing that obviously the consumption of energy, getting the supply chain and all the kind of accessories you need for additive, you need to have something fit for purpose. So I think there's a big push to actually really set ourselves up for sustainability from the start for manufacturing.
And are you thinking about certain materials when you say that? Or is it from every material we are talking about in additive manufacturing, or are we just talking about metals or plastics?
I think it's inclusive of all materials and all manufacturing methods. So my background is primarily aerospace. So the drive in aerospace is reducing the buy to fly ratio. So the amount of material you buy is hopefully reduced with additive because you're not machining material and throwing it away and not using it. So I think the metallic has a huge potential because obviously then you're not producing as much raw material, so you can get some of the energy costs down there. And I think people are realizing that actually sustainability is quite attractive to the market. So if you can sell that you have an attractive proposition for sustainability, people will decide to buy that. So I think it is a powerful tool.
We are coming later back deeper to purmundus challenge, but maybe just one impression. You're covering purmundus since several years, or many years actually, and maybe there was the topic of sustainability. I think it was an important topic for you as well, right?
Well, it's the 10th anniversary this year, and what we showed this year is a retrospective of very nice winner projects of the last 10 years. And when you go through these innovations, always we are kind of look into the future, but after 10 years,
you can look back.
But what you see is definitely that students, designers, startups, SMEs, as well as global players, more and more take responsibility seriously. And responsibility is sustainability, certainly, but also responsibility for people with special needs and other things in society. And we see more and more that it's not just the little gimmick, the Lück Additive can do that.
We have the donation project for Ukraine we presented here. That's a good example, I think.
You name it. And you really see that people not just want to show off with what additive can do and with the freedom, that people more and more really use it to take on responsibility. And it still can look good. It still can be something which you like to look at and be a product with some value. But responsibility definitely is taking on more and more importance in what these people do and send to us as their contribution to a contest.
I understood that you had this year had a special event, let's say, but the recent years it was a contest. So did you have a criteria sustainability when choosing the winner?
Well, we are a little company doing 3D printing, but we invented 10 years ago this contest because we wanted to push more things which were really additively manufactured and not just rapid prototyping. And but the jury was always people outside from our company, from all over the world, from Australia, from Britain, from Germany, designers, professors and others. And they had their criteria, but obviously within a design contest, they had a number of checkpoints for them, and sustainability definitely, and responsibility were things they looked at. And so, for example, a little food for children who need a prosthesis won 4 years ago, I believe it was, because this kind of responsibility for people and was an important criteria.
Is the trend in additive manufacturing, or additive manufacturing serves the trend of individuality?
Right.
So the single product, you know, from your shoes to your medicine products and so on. Is that a driver for sustainability in your eyes?
I absolutely think so, and I think that's also a great sustainability story. If you talk to anyone in their own life, how many things have you purchased that were generic, let's say your shoes, and then you get them home and they don't quite fit your foot and they end up getting tossed out,
always
and you go buy another one.
Sales season where you can buy cheap shoes.
Right.
Because they had to manufacture different sizes and they were not bought, or here suits
so
or
you
something
end up
like
having
that.
a lot of things that are thrown away. I think if you really look at a full life cycle, a true life cycle of a product, I think you find a big sustainability story there. You know, when you're looking at for a life cycle analysis, and if you're just, reproducing these two glasses, and you just look at the production or even just the use phase of it, you don't capture everything. If you don't capture the inventory that goes on the shelf that eventually gets thrown in the waste bin, or a shipment that comes in from traditional manufacturing, you pull out the first one and discover they're all wrong and have to be tossed out and reproduced. If you're not accounting for all of that, because I can tell you in your business, the finance people and the inventory people are looking at all of that. And if you really include all of those things, you're going to find a sustainability story. Now, is AM perfect for every application to produce everything? Of course not. But where it makes sense, it's going to make sense. But so it's a matter of identifying those.
But you agree that there is a long way to go until we get there, that we are all satisfied with the topic sustainability. I think we.
Sure.
Well, I don't know how much percent. I don't ask you, but it's not so much, I think.
Right.
So is something like purmundus challenge a method to come into public, to get these points you're making here on stage into the minds of the people? Do we have to do more of getting awareness, doing more marketing for the sustainability aspect, and how do we do it?
Right. Well, and I think challenges like that and events that really encourage, really opening people's minds to what development could look like, what design can look like, what the potential is, because there's just so much opportunity here, but it really requires people to get out of their thinking. It's going to take people that haven't been steeped in doing it another way for years, but you can't wait for, the young kids coming out of college and plant these seeds that are going to take 20 years until they're in leadership. It takes those folks being trained, but it takes leadership that's going to encourage risk, right? And to try these new things and have that be rewarded. Even when we do LCAs, or any company is doing an LCA, it's not about at the end, is it a thumbs up or thumbs down? It's where was it better, where was it worse along the way, what's transferable, what can we learn about it, and that kind of transparent information coming out. That's what I hear companies are looking for, that are looking to adopt AM, which is what we all want, is more broader adoption. They need information. They need to know where to apply this in their businesses, and that's kind of incumbent upon all of us. We can't just talk amongst ourselves at an AM event. We have to be out talking to a broader audience and helping them understand how they can bring this into their business. Where does it make sense? Where does it maybe not make sense? And then we will see more adoption, which is really good for everybody in this room.
And I believe it also shows different levels, because you mentioned individualized products, which we had many. People will worship them more, so will not throw them away year after. You mentioned the resources being used less and just produce what you need, not more than that, and the logistics are always an argument. But we also see the level of renewable materials in the production of products. We had some very nice innovations over the year, taking really green material for additive manufacturing. So it's also about how can be additive manufacturing in itself be more sustainable. But additive manufacturing can also be an enabler for sustainability in other areas. And so we had also winners from the energy area, so that additive manufacturing helps you to be more energy efficient in other areas, because that freedom because that freedom helps, and maybe that's even the largest impact you might have. And so I see it's also a nice way of presenting these different levels.
But how to get them transparent? That's a big task, I think. How to get these effects you get in a plane. You mentioned the plane.
So a great mechanism. I think we're kind of talking about how do we have an impact for sustainability. So taking the ideas from maybe a competition which inspires. So ASTM in partnership with ISO and standardization through global standards is a very good way of driving impact. So where we have our best practices, we can drive that through standards.
Put in aspects like sustainability into standards you are not producing, you're discussing? Or,
absolutely. So the beauty of a standard is it's consensus-based. So I think from seeing what we've seen here this week, it is a hot topic. So we need further standards development. So what are the key things we need to focus on to reduce cost, energy use, have those parameters in our standards, and then that becomes adopted by industry. So that is a very good way to take the innovation.
But is it possible to define in a standard what a product has an impact in an airplane or in a car or in not shipping shoes you do not wear? Well, how to define that in a standard?
So I think as the industry is kind of looking where we can reduce cost, those become your key focus points. So again, we have a standard coming out at the moment working on defining part families. So instead of producing one part, spending all that money and energy to qualify and certify a component, and then doing it exactly the same again for a new part, how can we share the load and the burden? And that relates back to supply chain. So you can have a digital warehouse of spares and parts, and that can all be managed through standardization. So I think you may not get everything, but if you pick the top 5 big hitters, then that's what you can focus on in standardization. Then industry can say, well, if we know to focus on these 5 things, we can then really target what we're doing and share the learning back into the community as well.
But it's not always so easy to get a sustainable product and to get it transparently. I brought it with us here, or we got a stool fabricated, and over there a table, and maybe just one sentence to these. I brought it with me. This tool, as an example, it's brought to us by Forust von Anisha Melia. It's a part of Desktop Metal Forust. And this tool was designed by Monroe. So, and now I want to tell you, so they tried to make this one real sustainable, but it's not an easy task, I think. So each component was printed using a water-based ink, okay, dried, but it took a really long time to fabricate this one. Dried for 24 hours, depowdered to remove the unbound powder, infiltrated with the epoxy, cured for 24 hours, sanded, then components had to be glued together. Again, a semi-transparent colored stain, pigment and water-based. The epoxy was 20% bio-derived content when mixed, so and so on and so on. I can read a lot more. Sure. So first, for my first learning, it's you try hard, but you have technical limitations. You cannot use 100% bio-derived. He is working just 20%. So it's not an easy topic. Talking to to your association members, are they all willing to give so much effort in producing a sustainable product?
So it's a good example. So you can you have this tangible product in front of you, and I'd say it's back to application. So is additive the right application to make something to sit on? So perhaps we have more alternative methods that may be more sustainable and cheaper. And of course we can use this to drive design and innovation, but I think that's probably where I would start and see from our membership is we don't have to use additive manufacturing. Eventually will become a tool in the toolbox of manufacturing, and you select the tool that makes the most sense. And that's cost is a big driver, but sustainability feeds into that. So I think that's my thought there is what is the application, and does the manufacturing method make sense across the whole spectrum?
The recent days we had the topic artificial intelligence here, and connectivity, and how can digitalization help us to monitor our processes, to make the processes better, so we do not have so much bad parts in our processes. Is it a topic one of you guys are working on including very new technology like using artificial intelligence into the processes to optimize them, sustainability in mind. Is that something on topic right now?
Absolutely. So from ASTM perspective, we canvass the industry for ideas for standardization. And in the last 2 years, the most suggestions for standardization was based around data. And that shows us that we are getting mature now, that we need this data to make everything more efficient. So we have things like a common data dictionary, which is a standard. So when we talk about these different packets of data to transfer between our systems, we talk the same language. So those standards are now existing. There's a strategic roadmap for how we use data in the industry. And again, it's not our thoughts. We kind of bring the community together. What does industry think? What does academia want? What does everybody want? And we see that is a big thing.
Yeah, and I think you made the right point. That's about research and collaboration.
Right.
If everybody does it for its own, it will not work that way. And artificial intelligence, new renewable materials and things which we are as a small SME also pushing in research collaboration, because on our own we wouldn't be able to do so. And especially what you said about quality and waste, if you manage your process much better, you throw away less, and that is also sustainability. And on the material side, biomaterial, there are good chances, but it has to be with cost, and you have to bring the right partners together. And therefore, I think the point you made before with the visibility is important, and we have to look also for the visibility outside our own community.
And I think in this example here, you know, why I would say, if I were talking to the folks who printed this, I would say, why did you print this? Like, what was the reason? Was the driver some organization that's going to sell that retail or is going to use that? Why did they want to print it versus making it another way? Because was there a shipping reason where you could lightweight this? Is it because we don't know if people are going to like the brown one or the square one or the round one? We don't know. Is it an inventory issue? And you need to have not just the AM sort of stakeholding organizations in this. You need to have the companies that consider themselves end users or even consumer goods to drive this conversation, because we've all seen companies develop amazing technologies that no one was interested in, you know, that could do some amazing thing that just really didn't have a use. But if that information is coming from, you know, the end user, the boots on the ground, what do they need? Why do they need it? Because that's what drives development. That's what's going to drive, you know, printers, you know, with a bigger build envelope. Well, that's because, not just because they can build a bigger envelope, it's because there's a need for it. So that's really going to inform the entire conversation of, you know, why did they want to print that to begin with? What was their business reason? If it was lightweighting, or if it was because we don't know what consumer tastes are going to be, then you work around those things, and maybe you say it doesn't make sense to print it.
So I think what I'm going to do is I will invite Anisha Melia of Forest to come here in our after-work talk, and maybe she can give us some answers, because we have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to give some credits to the other, not that we are talking about and not mentioning here the designers. That was Mike Doberak, 3D printing from the 3D printing startup Big Rep, with a large FDM printer, if somebody is interested in how it was done. And maybe Mike is here on Formnext, and he will come to the morning talk tomorrow, or the evening talk today. Yeah, but you know, these examples, I think are very good examples to show. Absolutely. As you said, you have to look deeper into the topics. Time is nearly over. So we are starting into the next fair day, and I'm very happy to have had you here. I wish you a lot of success and a lot of good discussions today, all around sustainability, and tomorrow maybe a next topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dear audience outside, we have, after some short Formnext highlights, we will have here on stage an expert insight with Rolf Anderhofstadt, and he will solve problems before they happen with 3D printing. We're very curious what he's talking about. Vielen Dank.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.